Hello, and welcome to this video on an updated Plume from Hieroglyphic. It's got a rather fetching new black panel and a firmware update that I'm exploring here, which I think sounds killer. So let's just hear this longer sequence develop with the two modules playing the two voices in the patch. This video is sponsored by Hieroglyphic. So if this is the first time you've seen Plume, I suggest starting with my free patches video, which I'll link down below, that outlines the features and sounds across free musical examples. But about Plume quickly, Plume is an oscillator or voice that uses pulsar synthesis, and it presents an interesting sonic and rhythmic output that's a hybrid of an oscillator, a granulator, and even a clock generator. More on all of that linked in the video below. The new firmware is version 1.2, and I think the changes are quite significant, certainly significant enough to make me want to share this video. And the changes in the firmware is an updated sound engine that is now based on an XY wavetable for shape and fold. This is implemented for a smooth crossfading wave shape that then morphs through different wave folding tones, while eliminating any potential dead spots that can occur between wave shapes and fold levels. But the big thing is the new cluster mode, which gives you a free oscillator detuned cluster. Let's strip back this patch and explore what's happening. So starting with the silver Plume here, this is in the normal mode, not the new cluster. And this is just droning in stereo, currently in my mixer. I have a basic arpeggio, with some probability of the notes changing, but it's just a basic minor arpeggio as a kind of supporting musical set of harmonies or chord tone. I was using an LFO to panning because you can stochastically mask these pulsars here. This just creates this slow drift and shift across the stereo image. I'm then using random voltages, playing in time with the sequence, to things like folding. You can see the wave shape here on the screen. To wave shape, the cluster and formant of the pulsars, it creates this rich tone in stereo. So if I'm muting my mixer, it's coming into the natural gates here, so it's panning left and right into two channels of a low pass gate, and those two sides have been struck by random rhythms. So there's stereo kind of plucking, if you like, stereo rhythms bouncing off of each other, but it's still swaying with this masking setting for the pan between the two sides. And there was a delay that I added here in the mix. Just for a touch of ambience in the patch. So the main layer is this new cluster mode on the black panelled Plume here, and you get in and out of the cluster mode by just holding mask for 3 seconds, and it adds a C on screen there, high C. Let's go back into it. Is the high tuning range cluster, and there's a low tuning range clusters as well for sub-audio clusters. We're going to stick with it as an oscillator here. And I should say here that the screen, there's no menu. It's not a screen that you need to look at or set anything really. It just shows you your wave shapes and settings as you change them on the button. So it's all very hands-on. Now I'm just using the right output here. And as I pan to it, you can hear this output droning with just a simple sine wave for now. And using that panning, I can modulate into the panning almost like a VCA. So I'm using this green trace envelope here to push that pan to the right side, the only one we're listening to, and this is direct to my mixer, there's no processing on this. It's kind of like an output VCA at this point. In the cluster mode, we can, let's go to a richer shape. Detune these free oscillator clusters. And you can use the probability to get these randomly wavering So you have a nice interactive control set between the cluster and probability for that kind of swarm effect of the three oscillators. The cluster at its highest setting goes to an octave shift as well. So you have this organ-like kind of octave stack. So starting to add some modulation here, I was wave shaping, or modulating the shape rather, with an LFO. And then using this red cable and sequence here to fold. Using a quarter note envelope to probability. So it's pushing into that kind of swarmy gargling of tuning. And I was using an envelope that just triggered once per note change to the cluster to push and pull back in and out of higher detune settings. With my Von Proctive back in. And it's really performative in that we could say modulate formant instead. Push into that octave stack. And even push the pan up to that right side like I'm manually opening a VCA on the sound. Let's bring in the right hand plume through the natural gate. Bring in the delay on that sound. And I just think it sounds killer. So having a lot of fun playing with the firmware and wanting to present it here in this video. Check out the free patches video on Plume that I'll link down below. You can support me on patreon.com/DivKid. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.